This student is preparing for a real-life driving event at one of the scariest racetracks ever, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. This is how I helped him find a 1.5 seconds per lap and become a dramatically more consistent driver. In this coaching session, I will teach him how to deal with dangerous, long, high-speed corners, how to use the pedals in the right way and with better finesse to manage the weight of the car while doing these corners at race pace, and most importantly, how to prevent some bad mistakes that can lead to unnecessary crashes and spins. Because you should know that especially in high-speed corners, it's very possible to drive way more slowly while at the same time having a higher risk of spinning and crashing. By the end of the session, he had become incredibly consistent and improved his lap times by 1.5 seconds, both against his fastest lap time, but also against the whole stint. I'm Suelio Almeida, founder of the Almeida Racing Academy, currently with over 11,000 students. So thank you for your trust, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Now that I'm coaching more and more in real life, I try to prepare the students for the worst case scenarios first, and then work backwards from there, because it just makes you so much safer, right? Of course, like I don't want to intervene too much in your driving for now. I just want to see what you've been doing. So just load the GT4, the way you were driving, the conditions you were driving, the setup you were driving, and then from there, we're going to build up into some more sketchy scenarios so you can prep for that. That's a very good starting point. I have one little thing that I want to talk about that is just gonna help you structure the corners a little bit more. Before that, let me try and do a few laps. I'm gonna load the session here, then I'm gonna share my screen. That was pretty lucky though. There is one big difference between my driving and your driving that I want you to pay attention to, which is the maximum rotation point. Like most corners have only one, which is the minimum speed point. It's the point where you rotate the car the most. If you find this point in every corner, whatever comes before that, you're gaining rotation. Whatever comes after that, you're losing rotation. So the MRP contains the minimum speed and the maximum steering most likely as well. So if you look at my steering, you see how I turn more, and then here, when I reach this minimum speed and I get back on power, you can see my steering starting to go back. So it's one build-up motion. Peak. Now less. And it's going to be exactly the same thing for pretty much all corners. More. Power. Less. Now, it's important. This concept is so useful in long corners because you have to actively think, oh, not yet. This is not where I'm gonna reach my maximum steering. I'm building up on top of this concept because I want to point out one mistake that you have specifically in this next corner here. In this corner, you're braking on a straight line. You brake a lot on a straight line. You turn into the corner, but because your car is already so slow, because you did a lot of the braking so early, you feel like you have to accelerate early as well. So you kind of maintain half throttle throughout this corner. But the way you remember how you do this corner, look at this one. See how late I get back on power? It's technically not late. It's just the very maximum rotation point of the corner. So boom, still decelerating, still gaining rotation, still gaining rotation. My steering is still increasing all the way until I know, okay, now I have rotated half of the corner. This is the peak rotation. I'm going to get back on power and then rotate less and less and less and less and let the car spiral out itself because it's going to be gaining speed. It's going to want to rotate less. In comparison, what you did, you were having too much brakes and then too much throttle too early. So too much influence of pedals in long corners is something you should avoid. So never forget that. If the corner is long, then most likely you will use less pedals. If it's a high speed corner and it's long, then the best way to do it is by minimizing the amount of pedal inputs that you have. So if you look at my pedals here, I brake this much, then okay, that's already less. Now look at how long I spend with zero throttle and pretty much 10% brakes.
Long time.
It's pretty much the whole corner, right? And then when I get back on power here, well, this car didn't have a lot of torque on high speed anyways because it's not so powerful. So I was able to go to like 80% and then more. In your car, you might have to elongate a little bit the throttle application because there is more torque, there is more power, right? And you're not going to be on racing tires, right? You're going to be on track tires. Okay, exactly. So they're going to have a little bit less grip. And because your car has more power, then you're going to have to be more progressive with throttle. Otherwise, you just get too much torque and the car is going to want to either get into traction control and you lose excess speed, or it's going to start like 1 inch light. But you see, long corners, especially this one that feels like the corner is right there. If you look from here, it feels like the corner is right there. And that's why you see like, oh, the apex is right there. I'm going to accelerate. But look at where the apex is. You see, the corner goes on forever. So this here, where we are right now, is the actual maximum rotation point. So if we look up like this, look at how long the corner is. It's always good to look at maps. Google Maps is great to determine more or less where your maximum rotation points are going to be, so you can structure the corner. You're braking very early here and accelerating very early, and there's just too much inputs, and your minimum speed is too early, and then you kind of maintain your speed. The problem with this though, whenever you accelerate say 50% and you start turning, what happens?
You're gonna understeer most.
Exactly. You're gonna induce a huge amount of understeer. I want you to build up to the rotation by getting less pedals. The challenge with all this is that your approach, you brake a lot, boom, you start turning in, and now maybe you're not doing this consciously, but you're going half throttle very early as soon as you realize that the car has the grip, and you kind of hold the whole corner through understeer. You're inducing that understeer to make the car very stable, but at the same time, you're way under the actual speed that the car can handle on that corner. And here, it's quite useful to hold the 50% throttle because it really makes the car safely understeer through this corner. You don't want to accidentally carry too much speed, lift off fully, or touch the brakes after you start turning, because then you accidentally induce the oversteer and then you spin. I've seen some cars spinning here because they kind of panicked, right? You turn in, you carry a lot of speed, and then, oh, I'm too fast, let me brake. But then you're braking and turning at the same time, you're really shifting that weight to the front tires and getting a lot more rotation than you expected. Now here, lots of rotation. Interesting, you said, oh, that was clean. Why? What does clean mean, right? What does clean even mean? If you look at the corner like here, like from here, what do we see? We see two corners where the second one has a smaller radius. So that means we can carry more speed here, and we're gonna have to decelerate more to the second one and then finally get back on power. Now what we can do, the natural line of a car when it's decelerating is a closing spiral. So that means that in an ideal scenario, depending on the shape of the corner, and this actually matches this corner, you only have one deceleration, because the corner 1 you can carry more speed, and the corner 2 you have to decelerate. So it doesn't make sense to do the corner 1, then accelerate so that it will have to brake again to do the corner 2. You want to just combine one big deceleration to it, and that's exactly what I do. I'm braking, and then still braking, still braking, still braking, still braking, still boom, all the way here. So all this process is a big closing spiral because the car is decelerating and it's able to rotate more. It's very difficult to do that here because of the shape of the corner. You have like almost like one right way of doing it. And in some cars, depending on downforce, depending on weight, depending on setup, you might need to do a little dab on the throttle right here, now just to gain some extra speed because you have some extra space. In this car, it happened to be perfect on that third lap I tried. One big deceleration, one big deceleration, one big deceleration, one big deceleration, all the way until here, and then back on power. What you did was the approach that I mentioned, right? You brake a little bit too much here. You get here, you see the curve, and you think, oh, if that's a curve, that's the apex, I should accelerate. But then you accelerate and you have to brake again here for the next one. If you even have the room to accelerate here, it's most likely because you're too slow on this first entry. On this one here, especially in real life, what I noticed is that you don't actually have to hit this first apex here, because and that really depends on the natural closing spiral line of the car. So because this car, I was still like closing, I ended up like missing this apex because it felt like the right line that would match this entry here for a good exit. It depends on the car. If I had a little bit more time in practice, I would try getting a little bit closer because this car is low downforce. So if it's low downforce, you have a more V-shaped line, right? So you have to turn in a little bit earlier, and maybe I should actually touch this apex here. It's something to try in the sim, and also even in real life you can try. There's a lot of runoff here if you miss the apex and you can't bring it back. So yeah, try to do one big deceleration and find the line. This is one of the most difficult corners to hit, right? Like it took me more than a year driving the sim and going back to this track in the official series to really find the ideal line here. But it paid off when I raced here in real life. And then turn 8 is exactly like turn 3. It's a huge closing radius. So you have double apex there, but the first one is a little bit shallower and this one is a little bit tighter. So what I do is I aim to have my maximum rotation point not here, not here, not here, not here, not here, around here. So this is where I start getting back on power. So let's look at it. And also I'm braking and turning. So you see I'm braking like 50% and very light hands, controlling the extra weight on the front tires. And very patient. The car is gaining rotation because it's getting slower. Slower, boom. Okay, now that I know that the car is pointing in, I get back on power, and from here I know that it's gonna be wanting to go wider because it's gaining speed. It's gonna want to open that line. So one big closing deceleration here, closing, power, opening. Even though like it looks like I'm staying on the inside here, the corner does open up a little bit, so I can just stick to the inside here. And then here, between these two corners, you went straight. Why should you not go straight? Because this is a compound corner. You don't have enough time to go straight. You're either using all the track in both, but that's not the case. You have to compromise one. You either compromise the exit of this one and get the better entry, or vice versa. So if you are compromising, that means that you should never go straight in between them. You should be using this little time in between them to use the grip laterally. So if you look at what I'm doing, you see that I'm never going straight. Right, boom, left, right away. See? Why? Because I really want to use this little time here to prepare the next corner. Bring it to the right as much as possible. Change direction. Now left as much as I can. Boom. Right as much as I can. No time to go straight in between. So I think this is what, 9, 10, 11, right? So So these 3 corners, you do not want to go straight in between them. And the same thing, pedal wise. You see how much pedal I use. Brake 50%. Now it's already less power. Now here I'm gonna brake 50, then already less, and maintaining all the way into this apex, aiming for the end of this curb here. And then a little bit of brakes, wait, power only here. So really building up those rotations without having too much pedal input, especially on these 3 corners. You don't have any space or room to brake on a straight line. It's really all about like that rotation build up while cornering. If you turn, say, 100% force on the steering without braking, as soon as you add a little bit of brakes, you're gonna have to turn 20% or 30% of that same force against the steering. How much force you apply on the steering. Not necessarily the steering angle, but the steering angle is directly as a consequence of that. But if you relax your hands according to how much brakes you have, then you can do the corner. Because in the end, the brakes act as a multiplier of the steering. So if you are going to brake, you have to steer less to get the same level of rotation. The biggest problem with beginners is they brake and turn exactly the same amount that they would turn without braking. But the brakes now multiply the effectiveness of the steering by 5. Like it's a very dramatic change, right? And that's why you spin. When I start braking and turning, I am quite relaxed with my hands so that I give just enough steering input to get the car to point without spinning. And that's exactly the same thing on this one here. So as soon as I start braking, boom. You can see my, right now, when I start turning in, it's difficult to notice, but like I'm wiggling less my steering here. I'm kind of holding it. Now, as soon as I start braking, look at how the wiggle gets a little bit larger. Yeah, that's the force feedback there. That's me relaxing my hands and letting the kind of talking to the car a little bit. And that's exactly what I do in real life. Anywhere. Anytime I'm going to add brakes, my hands automatically relax. Right now, for me, that's kind of like a muscle memory thing. I automatically do that. But it is the safest thing you can do compared to any other technique in motorsports when it comes to preventing crashes on corner entry. So for you to nail that long corner, braking less, carrying more kinetic energy into the corner, you have to relax your hands so that you can add that extra sensitivity that's going to be necessary for you to handle the balance of the car on turn in with the weight on the front tires.
Carry more speed through the corner, find the maximum rotation point, patience before getting on the throttle.
Well, I wouldn't call it patience, because if you carry the right speed, you will feel like it's not time yet. It's not like you're gonna feel, oh, I want to accelerate, but I shouldn't. No, like you're gonna be like, holy, I'm so fast. I still need to decelerate more. So that's the right feeling, because if you feel like, oh, patience, don't get back on power yet, well, if you need to be patient, you're probably under the limit. You're probably like overslowing, and then you're just forcing yourself to not get back on power. But if you carry the right speed, you're gonna be like, oof, not yet. I still need to decelerate more. The car's too fast. Ooh, okay, now I'm getting the right rotation. Okay, now that this feels right to accelerate.
Got it.
Now, I want you to try that right now just to see if you got the idea. Nice. I can really see that as soon as you touch the brakes, you relax your hands a little bit. So for this next corner, try starting to turn in and then braking like 50%, relaxing your hands, and do the braking while turning into the corner. And power. Yeah, that's the idea. You still want to turn from like use all the track before you start turning in. But that's the idea.
But at least now I know what to look for.
Yeah, be careful not to accelerate too early. That was still too early, and then you had to lift. It makes you lose way more time if you get in a rush and get back on power there. It's better to wait. If you feel like I'm a little bit too slow, still wait and try to aim for the best exit, because this straight is so long. You need to get a better exit rather than trying to gain time mid-corner there. Patience. MRP is super far this corner. There you go. That's the idea. That's the idea. Nice. Good idea. See, you're going straight in between?
Yeah.
That means you can carry a little bit more speed. Good job. That's it. That's it. That's it. The delta went crazy there. It's like half a second. And if you didn't hit the curb, it would be probably 3 more tenths.
But I see it now.
Still faster though. See, you're noticing the issue even when it's happening at a much smaller scale now. Try to get to 5th earlier here on turn 8 to use the 5th gear engine braking a little bit to turn the car around. Nice. Nice. Better, way better with the pedals.
There we go.
Yeah.
Wow, and there's tons of mistakes. Okay, I see.
Exactly. No, it's so much better. It's so much better. I want you to do like a nice, 10 laps tent here. Get like a nice lap that you're happy with, and then send me the replay after. And then get the M2. Drive with the M2 on this track, because it's gonna be way closer to your car in real life. That's a huge change. Just remember that when you're doing this braking while turning into the corners at higher speeds, you're gonna need to relax your hands to prevent inducing an accidental oversteer.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Suelu. You're such a fucking champion, dude.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate you. I'm such a fan, and thank you so much for your time. It's massively appreciated, man.
Good luck. Have fun on track. If you have any questions, just send me a message on Discord.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks, bro.
Have a good one, man. Talk soon.
If you're a racing driver, you probably don't know what is actually slowing you down. You're watching on boards, you're doing laps, you're trying everything. But without a clear system, you waste time just reinforcing your bad driving habits. The Motor Racing Checklist is my complete online course that gives you a step-by-step plan to fix your technique and gain real performance in the car. Our Almeida Racing Academy has over 11,000 drivers. Go through it just once, you will feel the difference. And if you don't improve, I'll give you your money back.